Oh 07 Star Citizens, 319 has drastically changed the landscape of mining, meaning the days of Lancet with Surge Laser are over. But what should you use now to be able to crack the most rocks, make the most money? Today, I'm going to go over what I think are 5 of the absolute best mining loadouts for solo mining. A few important things before we begin. The loadouts I'm going to be talking about today will have both a prospector and mole variation. The reason I'm doing this is because the size 2 mining lasers have both extra laser power as well as an additional module slot. This doesn't mean you can't use these loadouts for multiplayer mole mining. However, you might want to look into some other variations, things that can work off each other when you've got multiple lasers on the same rock. Also, I won't be talking about mining gadgets today. However, I do recommend that you bring either one of each or some of your favorite mining gadgets with you, pretty much regardless of where you're mining, because you never know when you might need one. And lastly, in 319, you can actually now change your modules on the fly. This is due to the new item port system with the tractor beam. So, even with these loadouts in mind, make sure that you've got extra modules ready. I would recommend bringing along active modules in your cargo hold, like Surge, Stampede, or Lifeline. So let's get started with our very first loadout, the Klein loadout. Alright, so we are starting with kind of a cheat here, as the Klein actually doesn't have any module slots base, but it makes up for it with its base stats, making it a mining beginner's dream. With a somewhat lackluster laser power, it certainly makes up for it with its minus 45% resistance, plus 20% optimal charge window size, and its minus 30% inert material filtering. For the mole variation, I like to chuck the Stampede on it, so that we can increase the mining laser power and negate some of the instability negatives. With these bonuses, you're going to be able to crack a decent amount of rocks pretty reasonably easy, especially smaller rocks with huge resistances like with Beryl. Unfortunately, due to the instability of the laser, you will struggle with things like Quantanium. Thankfully, the optimal charge window size bonus can negate some of the skill required in those type of rocks. But this is definitely my recommendation for anyone looking to advance past their first mining laser. Next up, we have probably my favorite loadout of the lot, which is the Helix Maximum Power loadout. For this one, we're going to be starting with the Helix laser, which has the highest laser output. Then we're going to crank it up by adding some Ryger C3s as well as a Brant. The Rygers are going to provide us with 125% laser power, and that Brant, if we use it, is going to give us 135% just for that little bit of extra power. This laser, particularly on the mole with its extra base power level, can crack the largest rocks possible for a solo miner, giving you a larger pool to mine from. From experience, I was able to crack up to a 16k mass rock using the mole variant and a 13k using the prospector. But your experiences may vary, and you may find rocks that you can actually crack that are larger than those. The minus to resistance here is also nice, as it means if your rocks break down into high level resistance, you can still manage to crack them. The biggest obvious downside to this configuration is the optimal window size, meaning I wouldn't recommend you using this configuration unless you're a skilled miner and comfortable with changing your laser power at a moment's notice. One more issue that the Helix has itself is how high its minimum laser power is. If you encounter small enough rocks, you're going to have to be careful, maybe even triggering on and off the laser just to be able to crack those things. Other than that, there is no real other configuration that'll crack anything with a larger mass than this. If you do hate how small the window size is with the Helix then, let's try something else. How about making the biggest window we possibly can? For this next loadout, we're going to be using the Impact Mining Laser, which gives us an optimal charge window bonus of 20%, and throw nothing but Focus 3 modules on it, giving us plus 40% charge window size at the cost of minimal amounts of laser power. This loadout does a few things for us to make mining easier, just by increasing the window size. You don't have to worry about instability as much, you can mine more explosive minerals like Taronite without worrying too much about the red zone, and paired in a mole with 2 more identical lasers, you can make some rocks completely green. The laser power loss hurts less than you think it would, as it already starts with a decent amount of strength, and the optimal charge window rate doesn't matter as much when you are reaching your green zone much faster. However, the resistance bonus can hurt if you come across the wrong breaks, so keep that in mind when you are out searching for crackables. Next up, we have probably my favorite laser in 319 with an interesting loadout, the Hofstede. That's right, the Hofstede is actually a good laser now. For this loadout, we're taking the window charge rate and beefing it up a bit more to help us with any rocks we struggle to keep in the green zone by adding in Torrent 3s. This is going to give us extra charge rate of 40% with a negligible downside to your window size. This laser is deceptively good, and a lot of that comes from its minimum laser output. With the new stat in 319, some lasers really struggle with cracking smaller rocks. With the Hofstede, you can much easier crack those small but valuable rocks, and be a little more specific with your laser slider changes. This is the perfect loadout if you want to be able to crack and extract the smallest and densest expensive minerals, like small gold deposits. We're about to get to the last loadout, so before we do, if you're enjoying the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe for some more Star Citizen content, and hit the notification bell to know every time I release a video. I heard that everyone who subscribes gets guaranteed Quantanium deposits. I don't know, you'd have to ask CIG. Our last loadout is a way to make a jack-of-all-trades laser, something that doesn't really excel at anything. For that, we're going to go back to the Helix. To counteract the window size issues that we were encountering earlier, we're actually going to put on some XTR XLs. This is going to allow us to bring our green zone almost back to normal, as well as provide us with additional inert material filtering. And all of this at the cost of extraction speed, which isn't really a relevant stat in this patch. This is probably the best loadout you can use if you want to crack the most amount of rocks, albeit with some levels of difficulty. It's also probably the best loadout to have your additional modules in your cargo, in case you need some extra laser power from a Brant, drop some instability with Lifeline, or an even bigger window with a Focus 3. And there you have it, the best mining loadouts of 319. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you've encountered a specific loadout that you've been really enjoying in 319. The patch sort of brings a level of personal preference to the entire mechanic now, which is really, really interesting. So I'm curious to see what everyone's been coming up with. That's it for this video. Have a good day, and thanks for watching. Oh God.
You okay?
Everything's fine. Oh God, Marty! Marty?